welcome everyone to the Savvy Mom Money Tips series. This series was really to introduce many people to the concepts of money mindset. And money mindset runs the gamut in terms of the topics we could talk about. Anything money related is going to be addressed in this series. I'm so excited because this is the first night. It was just an idea on paper, and now it's coming live and direct to everyone. So I'm just going to introduce myself and then my special guest who I have on tonight, who's going to help in making sure that we address our topic for tonight. So first, my name is Elke Clinton. I am the CEO and founder of Savvy Moms Unite, where I teach moms how to live a simple, practical, realistic life. My goal is to assist moms in finding the career of their desire, as well as creating a financial future that allows them to build wealth over time. The goal is to also assist them in getting out of their personal financial hell. I've had my own personal struggles with money. I've dealt with everything you can imagine. Almost going through bankruptcy, having to move back in with family to make ends meet, dealing without jobs at certain points in my life. I've had it all. And so throughout those struggles, I've learned a great deal, and I hope to pass that knowledge on, those resources to those moms, particularly single moms who struggle like I did to make the ends meet and provide for their family. Now I want to give the opportunity to introduce my co-host for tonight. I'll let her tell her story and more about herself. So Nabi, take it over.
Okay, thank you, Elke. I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy to be the first guest on your money series. So thank you so much for having me. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nabi Subi. People call me Nabi for short because it's way easier than my full name. And a little bit about myself, I'm a certified credit consultant. I'm also a certified credit score consultant and an attorney. And I really appreciate the whole concept about money because I don't care who you are, we've all at some point in our lives have struggled with money, from the millionaire to the billionaire to the thousandaire. We've all had our money issues. I'm no different. I got a lot of student loan debt when I went to both college and law school. I came out, I had credit card debt, I had consumer debt, I had a car loan. I had a lot of debt when I got out of school. And people think, oh, you have this title, you're making a lot of money. But you know what? That debt can be overwhelming, it can be overpowering, and can control just about every aspect of your life. So for me, I had a wake-up call, and I just said, I don't want this debt hanging over my shoulders anymore. It's a little bit stressful. I don't like it. I don't want to buy into the concept. It's supposed to take me a lifetime to pay off all of this debt. So I got serious about it, and I was able to pay off $100,000 worth of my debt and became debt-free in December of 2014. And I kind of share those tips with people. Thank you, Elke. And in my capacity as an attorney and also as a credit consultant, I do help my clients get rid of negative items on their credit reports because, as we all know, your FICO score plays an important role in just about every aspect of your life now. It goes from whether or not you qualify for a car loan, a mortgage, and even if you do, what rate of interest will you pay? If you have a high interest rate, guess what? You're going to pay thousands of dollars over the life of that loan compared to somebody else that might have better credit than you. And guess what, people? 75% of credit reports contain errors. That's not a myth, it's an actual fact. So chances are you might have an error on your credit report that might be holding you back from something. And credit reports are used now for jobs. So you might think it doesn't affect you, it affects every aspect of your life. They're making changes now where they want to start reporting rental history as part of your credit score. That's never been done before. So there's all kinds of changes that are happening. And if you don't know what's going on with your credit and your credit report, it can have a negative impact and you may not even realize why it's happening to you. So those are some of the things I like to educate about, and I'm so honored that Elke asked me to be a part of this series.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Nabi. What you just said is so true. Credit before wasn't, credit has been important, but now more so than ever. I mean, to get even internet service, credit, they're checking your credit. And I know out here in Georgia, certain apartment complexes won't rent to you unless you have a 650 or above. That's not the average American. So imagine what the struggles are to rent out here must be for some. So it really is important that you take this seriously and you look at what it is long term that you could be doing for your financial future. But just because you've had bad luck, you've had struggles, you've had, terrible issues with money does not mean you can't come out of it. Because if you've already sort of shut your mind down and said, listen, all my money struggles are what they are and nothing's going to ever come of it, then you've already defeated yourself. And we're going to show you how you can get out of that rut. So the first thing I like to do is an icebreaker. I'm a facilitator by, trade. I'm a teacher. So this is something I have to do with the audience so that you can kind of get into the mindset of where we're going. So I want you, if you could take a minute, look in your purse, look in your wallet, wherever you are, and grab whatever bill you can find, even if it's a coin. But I happen to have a $5 bill in my pocket, but grab whatever it is. Yay! All right? Now, what I want you to do is hold it. Close your eyes and feel what it feels like. All right? You feel the texture. It feels familiar. You felt this kind of feel before, like a crisp. Think about the first time someone put that in your hand. Think about the first time someone gave you a dollar bill or any type of bill, what it felt like. Think about the moment, your immediate reaction when someone gave it to you. All right? Was it positive? Did you feel good? Did it make you feel bad? Were you terrified? Were you scared? Were you excited? Did it give you a moment of like relief that maybe this bill was going to help with something? Think about all those emotions. Let those emotions run through for a minute. All right? Now, what I want you to do is think about the associations you have with money. Immediately, what pops in your head when you think about money? What are some of the things that you can immediately think about? For me, fear. For many years, fear was this for me. I feared money. Having too much scared me. Having too little scared me. I knew no happy medium. So that's what I associate. Whenever money's put into my hands, it literally sometimes made me shiver. Have you all ever experienced that before? Where it's like, oh my gosh, like I need to hold on to this so tight because I'm going to lose it. Or, you know what, it's whatever. And you just spend it, it's like, ah. Is it like that? The reason why I did that is because I don't think we do that deep enough of a process when we're thinking about money. I think sometimes money becomes so it's so much in our subconscious that we really don't think about it in our conscious mind, right? The only time it's in our conscious mind is like when we have to count or pay a bill. Like it makes sense, right? We're doing the rational steps. But think about when it comes to just making decisions in life, and like that long-term decision, things that we haven't seen yet, how money sometimes can really deeply impact the way we make decisions about our long-term journeys. It could stop us from taking that vacation. It could stop us from pursuing that dream. It could stop us from buying that house we've always wanted. It could stop us from paying for an opportunity for our kid because we see the lack. So that's what we're talking about when we say money mindset. It's our association with money. It's our perceptions. As a sociologist, that's what I studied in undergrad. I know that your culture, your beliefs, the way you grew up, the things that were said to you as a kid, the things you associate, your experiences you associate with life experience, it's what you think of and perceive about the world. So if you were told as a young child all the time, we don't have it, we can't afford it, you can't have that right now, mommy and daddy or mommy or dad just don't have the money, you can't get those new shoes for that sport because we can't afford it, you need to go and work at a young age because you need to make your own money. You associate getting money with a struggle. It never comes easy for you. If you've gone through those experiences as a child, you grow up thinking as an adult, it's always going to be a struggle to get money. But think about think the flip side. Think about those families who you've met, you've had interactions with. They're probably relatives where money was just not an issue for them. They didn't perceive it in the same way. It came easy. It seemed like it came easy to them. They always seemed to have it. There was never a fear of it. There was never this sort of pause on how you spend it. They sort of just spent and always had more. And I always wondered about those people, like like I have friends in college who literally could swipe their card, go on these lavish vacations, and I was always wondering, like, how are they doing all this stuff? And some of them weren't the wealthiest, but they just had this way of dealing with money. And I always wondered, well, how are they doing this? So I started hanging around people who seemed to manage their money well, because I certainly had no idea. And what I discovered was that they weren't really that much well off. They just learned a better way to deal and receive money. They weren't attached to it the way I was. They didn't see it as a fear. They just found out creative ways to make it. So how do you associate some positive things with money? How do you start to develop that really strong, positive connection to money? You start to think about the times you had it and you did well with it. You start to remind yourself when it did great in your life. You start to remind yourself of the things that are possible when you've put it aside. Stop thinking about the times that you went crazy and you went into debt, because that's just going to make you feel even worse. You're like, oh, well, you look at your debt, you're like, you know, I'm $100 and something thousand in debt. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do that. You keep saying, I can't, I can't, I can't. Well, if you keep saying you can't, you will truly not be able to, because you would have believed yourself in thinking that that's not a possibility. If you start to think about possibilities before things aren't possible, 9 times out of 10, you're going to figure out a way to make that thing happen in your life. You're going to figure out a way to invest. You're going to figure out a way to generate. You're going to figure out creative opportunities for you to make money, so that it doesn't become, I'm only going to get this amount and that's it. You don't put limits on how much can come into your life, because that fear of it so much coming into your life will then stop it from coming into your life, because then you can't handle it. Think about why, when you've believed in something and you strongly believe it and no one can penetrate and make you think different, how it's become so possible in your life. Because that belief is so strong, you're willing to do whatever it takes to get there. So don't let your lack of money right now stop you from building a future where you do have an abundance coming later. So what if Nabi, for example, had said, well, I'm in so much debt, there's just no way. I'm going to just pay it for the next 25 years. Because that's the expectation, right? Our student loans are to carry for 30 years. Can you imagine? 30 years, you're carrying that kind of baggage, what that means? That's worse than a relationship. Who would stay in a 30-year bad situation? Right, Nabi? So it definitely talk about that, Nabi, how it was to carry that for whatever time you did.
Well, Elkie, I love everything that you just said, because I think on some level we can all relate to that. And that's how I felt for a long time. I felt that just based on what I grew up seeing, TV commercials. If you ever wanted something, you just swipe that Visa card and it's possible. The vacation, the furniture, the clothes, and you're told that certain things you're supposed to have for pretty much most of your life. That includes credit card debt, student loans, like you said, you can take 25, 30 years to pay them off. So when I got all that stuff, I said, well, this is normal to have all this debt, and I'm supposed to take all these years to pay it off, and it is what it is. But something in my head said, this doesn't feel right. I don't like the weight that I feel on my life and the limitations I have when it comes to decisions I want to make. about what I want to do because of that debt. And um, what happened was I decided there's got to be another way of thinking, because my mindset was what it was. I only knew what I knew. And I started to search out different mindsets and different ways of thinking. And I started reading, and I found that there are people who were making less than me that were debt free, that had families, that had kids, and here I was as a single person, and I'm like struggling with juggling my debt. And they were able to do it with a lot less. And not only did they become debt free, they had savings. So I said, there are people that are doing it with much less resources than I have. So I really have no excuses. So I started reading, educating myself, and just really learning about ways of managing money and paying off debt. And I was able to do that. And for a long time, I was living and working in New York City, and I was doing litigation. I was running to court. I was dealing with difficult clients and other attorneys. And it got to a point where I just wanted to change my life. But for a long time, I told myself, guess what? You live in New York, your friends are here, your family's here, your law firm is here, and you can't leave. You have this debt. It's not possible for you. It limited me. I said, New York is a city where you can make more money than, let's say, I live someplace else. I felt like I was stuck in that life. So when I was able to pay off that debt, that opened up my world, my possibilities. It actually allowed me in December of 2015, I left New York City at the end of December, drove cross country, and on January 1st of 2016, I arrived in my new home state of Arizona. And I now practice law part-time. I have my business that I also run, and it changed my life. I don't do any more New York winters. It was my first New York winter free. And that's what the power of your mindset can do. And I love what you're saying about mindset, because it's your mindset. I don't care if you're talking about money, your career, it all starts with your mindset. What you think is what you believe. And it's so true what you've said. Sometimes you come from a situation where you've seen, things one way, and that's all you know, and that's all you believe. And for me, I like to say that there's 4 different mindsets. The first one is an abundance mindset. If you have an abundance mindset, that's the best, because you believe that there is a world out there where opportunities, everything that's there is available to you, regardless of your situation. Right. So you believe that you're entitled to those things. If you work hard and do what you need to do, it's available to you and you can achieve it. So if you have an abundance mindset, you are 10 steps ahead of the game because you have the right mindset, right? Right. Then there's the scarcity mindset. And that mindset is different. You have something, but you don't believe that there's enough. You come from a place of lack. So whatever you have, you hold on like this. And we all know that saying that you can't receive with a closed fist. So if you're like this, what opportunities are you limiting from coming into your life? You're limiting money when you do things like that. You know what I mean? Your career. And if you have that mindset, you're kind of closing your world off. And the third mindset for me is a poverty mindset. And that is a bit more of a challenge, because that mindset can be systemic. It could be based on generations, a generation where maybe in your family and they rented an apartment all the time. So maybe in your world, owning a home is not possible. When you have a poverty mindset, you believe that there's opportunities out there, but it's for other people. It's not for you. It's not available to you because your family doesn't do that. Your family doesn't live in this neighborhood. Your family can't go to this school. And that becomes your belief. So even though you live in a world and if you're in the United States where anything is possible for you, you don't believe that those things are available to you. Right. Your mindset. And then the last one is the one I came up with because it's something I've been seeing lately out there. I call it the lottery mindset. Yes. And that's where we have people now who are looking to take shortcuts, whether it's like get rich quick, getting a business in a box where they're going to be making thousands of dollars a month because they bought a $500 program or a $1,000 program, or it's these people who are maybe 10 years away from retirement or less, and they have no savings, they have no goals, they have no plans, but somehow they just know it's going to work out okay. And when you have a lottery mindset, you think you're being confident and you think you're being a risk taker, when in reality, you're just gambling. So that's kind of dangerous because you think you're doing all the right things, when in reality, you're just gambling and you don't even know it. So those are some of the mindsets that are out there, but I agree with you 100%. You and I each had a different mindset, and we were able to change it and turn it around. Right. So it's possible for anybody out there that is not, where they want to be in terms of their mindset. There are books you can read. And I like what you said about surrounding yourself with people that, have a way of thinking that you want to have. Because as we all know, you are your 5 closest people that you spend time with. So
That's
if
right.
you're spending time with people who are negative, that don't set goals, that don't believe that things are possible, guess what? You're probably going to have that same belief. But if you surround yourself with people that are doing what you want to be doing, then you can turn it around and it's possible for you. So I 100% agree with you that it all starts with mindset.
Absolutely. No, thank you, Nabi, for bringing up those various ways of thinking because it's so true. We've all had, I mean, I can relate to all of them because I've had
Yes.
all of them at some point in my life where it was like, it was like a, poverty mindset where our family was working class, so we grew up in a very, you work hard. Like there were times we didn't have lights. There were times when, you know, my mom, I remember my mom digging through her purse to give me change to get on the city bus to go to school. And how that I saw that and was like, oh my gosh, am I sending my parents broke? Like having that, carrying that burden of like, am I the cause of them being in this situation where they're
Wow.
struggling all the time? And how that your kids even personalize that, and why that conversation with your children now is important so that you change that generational mindset.
That's
Because,
an amazing
and
point.
that, like I know with me and my sister Sterling, who's a business owner, we really had to do a lot of work to restructure our mind around owning a business and relying on creative income to live, because we know is you go to school, get a good job, and somehow some way you're going to make the money to live. And what we found out for the last 20 years of working, that was still a struggle, because no matter how many degrees we got, we were still in a very sticky situation money wise. And so it wasn't until we started figuring out, okay, there's got to be a way to live differently. And so we started developing relationships with different people, reading tons of books. Now, if I could find a book on finance, I'm getting it. Like I don't even waste time because I
Right.
love reading about it. It was a challenge. It was something that I never mastered completely. So I needed that information in order to be able to say, okay, I confidently understand why money was a struggle. And what every book I've read, whether it's on credit repair, on debt analysis, on investments, on savings, budgeting, everything that I've read goes all the way back to mindset. That's where the heart of everything is. That's where the root cause is. It's where we could do our best work, and it's where we could do damage. And if we don't make that shift, I could give, like right now, I could give $10,000 to the next person, and if they don't have the right mindset and don't know what to do with that $10,000, they're either going to lose it in a matter of weeks, because it's easy to blow 10,
Oh yeah.
so easy, or
Right.
they're going to find a way to invest it and let it grow. But you've got to really deal with that. That's just why you mentioned a lottery winner. It's why many lottery winners fail when they receive lump sums of money. Their mindset wasn't right.
No.
If you checked it, many of them came from struggles. They were struggling. It's why they bought the lottery ticket in the first place. They wanted
Exactly.
to win. And so they're
Exactly.
struggling. They get this windfall, thousands, millions of dollars. And people are like, they blew it in a year, 2 years. Yeah, because the mindset was so fixated on the money being the savior and not investing. They were trying to take care not only of themselves, but everybody else who came their way. Let's buy 10 cars. It's why NBA players sometimes struggle with money.
Absolutely. Money does not guarantee success.
Nope, it really doesn't. Until you fix, I even said this, until I'm secure, I would rather steadily grow my wealth. Because that's what investors will tell you. It's like, don't go into the stock market thinking you're going to risk it all the time. It's not the proper way to do it. You want steady growth. So I got to have steady growth. So by the time I get to a certain stage in my life, I can really see how this money is growing and understand it, than to be thrust into something and then I blow it because I didn't know what to do with it. So for
Absolutely.
me, you hear those, as you said, those advertisements. You're gonna hit entrepreneur life and make thousands of dollars your first month. Whoever told you that lie lied to you. It's not true. I will tell you right now, as a full-time entrepreneur, it's not true. You're going to have to work very hard to make that first thousands of dollars in your business. It's not going to come easy. And if you're doing it right, it should take you some time, right?
Absolutely.
It should, you should allow for that time. So even going into a business because you think it's going to make you a millionaire off of one shot is silly. It's not realistic, and that's why I'm like, I'm all about it. I'm all about things being practical, simple, so anybody can do it. It doesn't require you having major knowledge, and it needs to be realistic. It needs to be real to your life. What can you do at this point right now? How can you discipline yourself? How can you put in the work so your future self is grateful for what you've done? You know?
You're making some great points, Elke, because that's why I'm concerned about this whole lottery mindset that I'm seeing out there. People are not willing to take the steps that it takes to be successful. There are no instant millionaires. Everybody that's been successful has worked really hard for what they have. It's not easy. There's struggles. There are days when you don't want to do it. But if you're serious about trying to be a business owner, even if something that's in your career, there's no easy steps. That you have to put in the work. And I'm seeing people now that are saying, "Hey, I'm just going to buy this program, and I'm going to make $1,000, in 2 weeks. I'm going to be making $5,000 a month." And then when they get the program, it's not what they thought it was because they never did the research on that person. They never got any references. And guess what? The only person that's making all that money is the person they bought the program for. Because they didn't check it out, And in reality, we just have to take baby steps. I hear people that say, I want to make, like $100,000 this year. Well, what did you make last year? I made $30,000. Well,
that's a huge jump.
Right. You might take some baby steps before you get to that $100,000. Right. And people don't want to take those steps. Or they say, I'm going to start my business. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this amount of money within a year. And I say to them, well, how about you start by having a personal budget first? They have no budget in their personal lives. They have no idea where the money is going. They don't understand why they're in credit card debt. They don't realize what they're spending each month. They don't know what they spend on groceries. They don't know what they're spending on entertainment, eating out. And it all starts with the basics and the fundamentals. So what I recommend to people, and it's something that I do myself, people don't believe me when I say this. I say, start by tracking your expenses. And when you pay for something, get the receipts, okay? Get the receipt. And people are like, oh, do you take a receipt every time you buy something? I'm going to show you something. See this envelope with all these receipts in it? That's for the month of August. I still do this. That's how I started getting out of debt. Years ago, I started saving receipts because I read a book and the person said, how do you know what you're spending money on if you don't save your receipts and look at it at the end of the month? And when I started doing that, the act of actually, swiping my card and actually taking the receipt instead of throwing it away like most people do, it made it real for me. So as that envelope was growing, I'm like, what am I spending my money on? And I got to the point where I was able to see, and it helped me to create a budget. And even though all my stuff is on a computer, and I can tell you what I spent 8 years ago in March of 2000 whatever, because I saw on my computer, I still keep those receipts because it makes it real for me. And I think people need to do those little small habits because you'd be surprised. You might realize, oh, wait a minute, I spend about $50 a week on Starbucks.
Right.
If you don't take that receipt, if you don't think about it, it's not in the forefront of your mind. So if people are spending, and they don't realize what they're spending their money on. They don't understand at the end of the month why they're short. And guess what? When you're short, you end up using a credit card, but you don't even realize that you're short. You just think, well, I'm going to eat out, swipe it. I'm going to buy this pair of shoes, swipe it. And they don't realize that maybe they're not making enough money to cover their expenses. So they don't understand why their credit card debt is rising. And that's why. You're trying to make up the gap in your income and your expenses by charging it on your credit card. So I believe in starting with the fundamentals. Take a receipt, track your expenses for a month and see what you're spending your money on.
Right.
Do a budget. And there's so many tools out there that make budgeting easy. There are apps, there's online tools you can use to track your expenses. So I really recommend that people start with those small little baby steps. It's really an eye opener and it will help you with that mindset shift that we were just talking about.
No, Davi, you hit some great points, and it's what I tell clients that I work with is the whole, like, when you when you've made that shift and you're trying to really get to a point where you create a budget, the first thing I tell them is track your expenses. That was the first thing I had to do when I got serious about my finances. And when I
Absolutely.
tracked the things I discovered about myself, it was amazing. I discovered I really had some issues with clothes. I was a clothes horse. I was, although I was a bargain hunter, I could save. Like I could go into a store with $100 and come out with 5 bags. I was that good. Okay, but when you're doing that 5 times a month, you got $500 in expenses just on clothes.
Wow.
So I had to really think about it. I was like, although I'm doing the right thing by, making sure I'm buying stuff that's on sale, making sure I'm looking at bargains, I was too much of a bargain hunter. And that led to a problem that I didn't realize was happening because I hadn't been tracking. I just swipe my card, throw away receipts, not using cash because cash is no longer, the thing. I can't, like, the fact that I carry cash now is amazing to me. I never used to carry cash. I'd be like, oh, I don't need it. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, if I don't carry it, I'm not going to understand how to hold on to it when I truly need it.
And I probably thought that you were saving money because you were bargain hunting. You probably thought you were
right. Come to find out, I was
smart about it.
Killing my budget and then didn't know why I didn't have money. Like I was really like, when I tell you I was so dense about my money, I was spending upwards of $1,000 on clothing, and then would be like, why am I struggling? Like I'm making good money. I'm making the most money I've ever made working. Wow. Why am I struggling? Once I started to track, I was like, oh my God, if I blew $1,000 on clothes in 2 months, I could have paid off 2 cards by now. Like, are you serious? So that's when it started becoming real. I started to really make the connection that my lack of understanding around how I was spending my money was actually harming me. And so the first thing I tell before, I'm like, don't even start a budget. Don't even think about creating one because you're going to fail at it. You don't really understand your spending habits yet. So track for a month, like you said. What I actually did was track for 3 months before I actually created my budget. And that 3 month was the most, like I said, eye-opening. Yes. I mean, what I was spending on food was crazy because I was eating out a lot. We
take out. That's a big one.
I love coffee. Coffee is my addiction. So going to Starbucks was on the regular. Going to my little coffee shop was the thing. And so I started to realize certain habits was costing me long term. And so that really gave me the push to say, okay, I can really do this if I focus. And once I started to see results, they didn't happen like overnight. It took time. But after 3 months, I saw what I was saving. I was able to put money away. I mean, it was really incredible to me what I was able to put away. Even to move here, I got my last paycheck June 18th. I had already put away 4 months worth of savings.
Wow.
So that I could take care of myself. And I'm still living off of that.
Wow. That's impressive.
That was not me 4 years ago. You couldn't have gotten me to even consider that. I would have been like, oh, whatever. Like, it's going to work out. I'll spend my check until next week. That was what I did. I was a paycheck to paycheck type of person. But that's what I learned. I remember my parents doing that, being like, "We can't give you money till Friday." That was the understanding. Money doesn't come in until paycheck time.
Yeah.
But you start to learn, okay, if I budget well enough, I can still have money sitting in my account paycheck time, and it doesn't really matter because whatever that money is to take care of some of my bills and to put away in savings. Start paying yourself first. That kind of thing. Yeah. Like I was able to start doing that, which is something I never considered. So you're so right about that understanding of tracking your money. It's important.
Yes, it's really important. So yeah, it enables you to save up money that you didn't know that you could do, because if you don't know what you're spending your money on, you don't know where it's going. So it's really important to take that baby step and track your expenses. And I love that you did it for what worked for you, which was 3 months. Because sometimes, you might need a little extra time to see what happens. There are surprise expenses that come up. You might have a car repair that's not a regular expense. So you were able to get a really good snapshot of what your expenses look like, and that helped you with your budget, which is really smart. The reality is a lot of people do live from paycheck to paycheck. I think we have this image that your neighbor's doing better than you are because you're seeing their Facebook post, and they're always
Right.
on vacation. And they're living the life, but what you don't see behind closed doors are when they open up that credit card bill and the horror of that expense that they ran up for that pricey vacation that they're paying off over months and months. You don't see the stress that a lot of people go through behind closed doors to live this life that looks, glamorous on the outside, but it's a nightmare on the inside. So there are a lot of people that are struggling with money, with debt, with their credit cards and finances, and they're just putting on this, happy face when the reality is something much different. And again, because money is such a touchy subject for a lot of people, it, like you mentioned earlier, it really evokes different emotions, fear, stress. And that's what it is. So a lot of times people don't talk about money. They don't share their concerns, and that prevents them from learning about money and what they can do. When the reality is, it could be their best friend that's having the same issue. They can, kind of commiserate with, but people don't do that because you want everybody to think that you're doing great, because that's what we're led to believe. You're supposed to be on top of the world, on top of your game when it comes to money. And the reality is we're kind of just charging ourselves into more debt.
No, you're right. You're right. It's a very touchy subject. It is actually the reason why many people go through depression. Um, so it's if you seriously are going through some major money woes, get the help you need. Invest in support around that. Whether you hire a financial coach, whether you work with someone, a friend who is really good with money and is willing to support you. You need a way to talk it out, deal with your baggage, and really focus on getting yourself to a better place. And just be patient with the process. One of the things I would tell anybody, you need to be patient with this process. It's not an overnight cure. Nothing that I offer, nothing that Nabi offers is going to solve your issue tonight. It's going to be a process that you have to engage in and be dedicated to for a period of time. It's going to require discipline. It's going to require some investment of time and even money. Because as much as I was in a place financially that I felt broken, I needed to invest in my own coach to get me where I needed to be. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful every day for the insight and the process I went through, because I needed it. I had hit a wall and I wasn't doing what was right. And that person was very patient with me. He was very caring. He was very, we talked not just about money, we talked about my growing up experience in my life. And I started to associate a lot of why I was having these negative experience with money because of the way I associated my upbringing with money. And that's when it clicked for me. I'm like, oh, I got to deal with some stuff. And I didn't want to take what I learned and just hold it in. I wanted to pass it on, because I'm like, if I can be helped, I'm sure there's so many people out there who were probably in my position or worse that need this information. It's the reason why I started this series. It's the reason why I started my business. I really wanted to see women, particularly single moms, take control of their financial future. I was sick of hearing that a single mom struggle was the real deal for all of us. That's not the case. There are single moms doing amazing, and they're not the most wealthiest on this earth. So
And
why?
some of them actually are.
Yeah, some of them are yes, some of them are six-figure plus women.
Yeah.
And some of them, are just your average mom who just figured out a way. And so why can't that be you? Why can't that be your life? Why is that something that is only for a certain type of mom? It can be real. It's real for the average mom to really do well in her life. And if it means you have to create a side hustle to bring in extra money, then that's what you got to do. You've got to be creative. This is not the time to limit yourself. It's the time to really push yourself and challenge yourself and open up your life to experiences that will help you grow.
Yes.
So,
and I love that you mentioned the fact that it's not an overnight thing, and that's so true. It didn't take you overnight to get into debt. So when people come in with unrealistic expectations, that's going to deter them from being successful.
That's right.
It takes time to change your mindset. It takes time to change your finances. So be careful of anybody that's promising you to make your financial picture better overnight. They're just going to take your money, and then you're going to be left with less money and the same situation. So anybody that's legitimate is going to let you know. It's going to take, it's a process. It'll take you 30 days to get into all your debt or your credit issues. It's going to take some time to fix it. So, you know, when you're looking for somebody to help you, make sure that they are realistic about that. If they're not realistic and they're making all these promises, that should be a red flag to you.
Absolutely.
And Elke, for any of your viewers, I do offer a complimentary confidential credit call, and they can schedule that with me at bit.ly/credit call. Yes. So we can spend 15 minutes going over your credit picture and see if there's something that I can do to assist you.
Thank you so much, Nabi, and I'll make sure when I post the recorded version that we post that link for you, because I know that service will be a welcome service. It's important. Please utilize this. This is an opportunity for you to really start your process on getting out of debt. So please seek Nabi out for that service. It's a wonderful one, and I'm telling you, you don't want to live with that baggage of debt for too long. It is not a happy life.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you, because I have parents who are still living with debt, and they're in their 80s and 70s.
Wow.
Don't want that life. I'm watching it happen, and I know why they are there, and I understand why. But for us who are their children, we see it as that's not the life we want to pass on to our children. So we got to do different. So if that's the situation you're in, utilize the services offered to you. Nabi has a great service, credit consulting service. I also provide financial planning. My focus is mostly on budgeting and saving, really getting you to start in that process in the simplest way possible and very real for you. So I also offer my own complimentary intro session that could be a phone call, or it could be through a Skype type situation, or video call, I should say, if that's something you're interested in, to help you as you get started on your process. I also offer a course called Get Your Money Life, and that's a 4-week course that addresses budgeting and saving throughout that course, and that's available through my website, www.savvymomsunite.com. So check out the website for more information. Nabi, any last words, anything you'd like to share with our audience before we call it a night?
I just want to thank you for having me as your first guest in this series. I'm really honored, and it's obvious how passionate you are about helping moms, especially single moms, and your passion is just so energizing. So I just want to thank you for making me part of your series.
Well, thank you, Nabi. I know that this I believe the purpose. I believe in it so passionately that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make the information available, because I know someone did it for me, and so I want to pass that on. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for being so willing to deal with my, wackiness and making this happen.
I love it. I love
because it. This is like, I could talk this all day. My siblings know this. This is my thing now. Like, they're like, okay, you're gonna talk about money again? Yes, we're gonna talk about it, because we need to deal with our stuff. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your knowledge and your expertise. Definitely, like I said, once this is posted, I'll make sure that we have links to Nabi's group, as well as her contact for you to reach out to her to get those services. You also have my contact information as well if you're seeking out my services. This is for your benefit. So please share this with others. We plan to be back here next Monday, same time. The platform may change depending on how YouTube is going with their Google Hangout connection. If it's still going to work, then we'll use YouTube Live. If not, we'll figure out another platform. But I thank you for your patience. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your engagements. This is Savvy Mom Elke of Savvy Moms Unite, where I teach moms how to live a practical, simple, realistic life. Please be sure to join us next week. Thanks again and have a wonderful evening.